Today we're going to talk about unlocking some of the world's most ancient wisdom, but with a really surprising key: comic books. We're diving into the incredible life's work of a Chinese comic artist named Wang wuanming, who basically dedicated his career to making these super complex classical texts into something anyone can actually pick up, understand, and even enjoy.
You know that feeling, right? You grab a book that's supposed to be full of timeless knowledge, maybe something like Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and you're all set to get enlightened. But then you start reading, and the language is just so dense, so ancient, it feels like you're trying to crack a secret code.
I mean, look at this. This is a real passage from The Art of War. Areas, quantities, numbers, balance of forces. Okay? What on earth does that actually mean? This is the perfect example of a brilliant idea that's just trapped behind a wall of words. It's so frustrating. And it's a problem that has kept so much of this wisdom locked away for centuries.
So what's the fix? Well, the first thing you might think is, hey, just add some pictures. And that's where illustration comes in. But as we're about to see, just drawing what the words say, that's not nearly enough. It turns out, not all pictures are created equal. Okay, so here are two comic versions of that exact same confusing passage. Now, the one on the left, it tries to draw it literally. And the result? Yeah, it's still a mess. It doesn't help at all. But now, look at what Wang wuanming does on the right. He doesn't just draw the words. He uses the pictures to explain the idea. He shows you a bigger battlefield lets you bring in more soldiers. More soldiers totally changes the balance of power. And boom, all of a sudden this ancient coded sentence makes perfect, intuitive sense. That is the magic right there.
This simple but really profound idea is the life's work of the man at the heart of our story. So let's get to know the artist who is on this mission to make wisdom accessible to literally everyone.
Wang wuanming's journey started a long time ago. He was born in Beijing in 1950, and he spent decades honing his craft. You know, from formal art training back in the 70s to drawing popular cartoons in the 80s, he even created a beloved animated TV show. So by the time his work went global in the 90s, this guy was an absolute master of visual communication. You can see this wasn't just a side gig for him. It was his life's passion.
And his motivation, it runs deep. You can see it in his own words. He wrote in one of his books that he sees these old stories not just as history, but as a source of real encouragement for people facing their own struggles today. He wanted to share that strength.
Okay, so let's really get into it. How does he actually do it? What's the secret sauce here? Because it's not just about being a good artist. He has a whole process, a unique method for cracking open these texts.
His method is this really consistent four-step process. First, he doesn't just illustrate, he acts like an editor, reorganizing the text itself so it makes logical sense. Then, instead of giving you boring footnotes, he uses these compelling historical stories to explain the big ideas. He wraps the whole thing in a simple, funny, welcoming art style that doesn't intimidate you. And finally, he shows that this method can be used for pretty much anything complex, not just old books.
Let's look at a great example. Say you want to explain an abstract concept like foresight. Well, he's not going to give you a dictionary definition. No, instead, he draws you a story. He shows you this real historical scene of Emperor Taizu cleverly talking his most powerful generals into giving up their armies, all over a friendly dinner, just to secure peace for the long run. The story makes the point so much better than any definition could. It's unforgettable. And just look at his style. It's so simple and expressive, but it's also got this lighthearted feel. The characters feel totally human and relatable. He draws you into these deep philosophical worlds without you even realizing it. He makes learning feel less like a chore and, honestly, more like an adventure. And get this, the method is incredibly versatile. It's not just for ancient philosophy. Way back in the 90s, he was already using it to popularize science. He adapted this massive work called Popular Romance of Mathematics, Physics, and Chemistry for a comic magazine. It just goes to show that any complex topic can be made clear with the right pictures. So just how far did he take this? Well, the sheer amount and variety of his work it's just staggering. The man basically built an entire library in comic book form. He's really tackled everything. I mean, on the one hand, you've got these books of strategy and practical wisdom, all based on real historical figures. And then on the other hand, he just dives headfirst into the supernatural.
illustrating these ancient collections of myths, ghost stories, and all kinds of strange phenomena.
And his work wasn't just massive, it was organized. He created these distinct series on topics like strategy or mythology, which makes his whole library really easy to navigate. And his reach was huge, with major publishers all across Asia making sure these books got into the hands of readers everywhere.
You know, an idea this powerful, it wasn't just going to stay a local phenomenon. His unique way of explaining things was absolutely destined for a global audience.
And the year that everything really changed was 1993. This was the moment. This is when his work broke out beyond China, when a publisher in Singapore, Asia-Pac Books, started translating his comics into English and introduced his incredible method to the rest of the world.
And you can just tell his new publisher was thrilled. In their note, they praise his ability to make philosophy and classics available in a lighthearted way, and they say they feel honored to have the rights to his best-selling comics. They absolutely knew they had something special on their hands.
And you can really track his global journey over the decades. It all started in China in the 80s. Then, in the 90s, it explodes into the English-speaking world through Singapore and Hong Kong. And from there, it just kept finding new audiences, with French and Malay translations popping up in the 2000s and even more recently. It just proves how universal his approach really is.
So, after seeing all of this, what's the big takeaway? What does the life's work of Wang wuanming really teach us about learning and communication? It really comes down to the power of visual storytelling. He proves that using images to tell a story isn't just for, kids' entertainment. It is a profoundly effective tool for genuine, deep learning. It's about making the complex simple and making the intimidating feel friendly.
This really is his crowning achievement. His entire library is basically proof that no idea is too complicated, no text is too old to be understood. All it takes is the right mix of clear art, great stories, and of course, a little bit of humor.
In the end, Wang wuanming did so much more than just draw comics. He was an architect. He built a bridge across centuries. A bridge that lets us, right now, walk directly into the minds of these ancient thinkers and actually understand what they have to say.
And that really leaves us with one last big question. When you think about it, from science and math to economics and modern philosophy, what other huge fields of human knowledge are just sitting out there, waiting for their own Wang wuanming to come along and unlock them with the simple power of a picture?